With the college football bowl season finally kicking off, there's always some bowl games that make you do a double take. Not because of the teams that are playing, but because of some of the sponsors and stories of some of those bowl games. This season, some interesting names included Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl or the Xbox Bowl. But there have been weirder or odder names to grace the face of bowl season, and that's what I want to talk about today. I found 6 bowls that had odd stories or sponsors, yet it made them rememberable. For this first bowl, I'm throwing it way back to the years of 1948 to 1955. A vegetable graced the name of this bowl game as it was called the Salad Bowl. The Kiwanis Club of Phoenix added this bowl game to the holiday season, and after tossing around potential names like cactus, vegetable, and lettuce bowls, they settled on the Salad Bowl to reflect the valley's abundant variety of crops. The bowl game and festivities were combined to raise money for Arizona's disabled children. Some festivals included the bowl organizers taking a cement mixer from the Arizona Sand and Rock Company and filling it with lettuce and other fixings, where they then turned on the mixer to create a tossed salad everyone enjoyed. Many big-time schools were asked to come for the inaugural Salad Bowl in '48. Finally, officials settled on Nevada Reno, which beat North Texas State 13-6. Yet year 2 of the bowl, the organizers upped the ante. First, since the bowl took place in Phoenix, they gave an automatic invitation to either ASU or the University of Arizona, depending on which school had the best season. Then the 18 other Arizona Kiwanis clubs co-hosted the event and launched a Salad Bowl parade. The parade contained 40 floats, each towed by 4 football players, and had 2,000 high school musicians. At halftime, the bowl queen was announced as she rose from the center of the Salad Bowl surrounded by fresh produce. Drake beat Arizona 14-13 in the second rendition, with Xavier beating Arizona State in the third annual game. The Salad Bowl looked to be heading toward the top of the collegiate postseason games, but the game suffered a major setback when the NCAA passed a bylaw dictating that 75% of the bowl's games' gross receipts must go to participating schools. Then games between Miami of Ohio and Arizona in 1951 saw a score of 34-21, and where in 1952 no Arizona school played in the game. With that NCAA ruling and that most of the Salad Bowl's revenue went to charity, the game was reinvented as a championship for military-based teams from 53 to 54. This saw back-to-back years of blowout games and declining attendance. So the Salad Bowl tried to reinvent itself again to become an all-star game featuring the top 25 seniors from the Skyline and Border Conferences, which included Arizona and ASU. Unfortunately, this format failed to revive the Salad Bowl, and the Kiwanis Club canceled the parade in 1955 and the game the following year. But props to these organizers for going all out on the bowl game. Now we'll bring the next game to a more modern era, with that being the ConAgra Foods Hawaii Bowl in 2002. This game was actually the inaugural Hawaii Bowl, which featured the hometown Hawaii Warriors led by Timmy Chang going against Tulane Green Wave led by JP Losman. Tulane pulled off the 14.5 point upset, getting the better of Hawaii in this game with a score of 36-28. What made this bowl game odd was the fact that the sponsor was not in a good place to be a sponsor of the game. Initially, ConAgra Foods agreed on being the sponsor of the game for 3 years for a 6-figure fee annually, yet it only lasted this 2002 bowl game. You see, ConAgra actually faced a lot of obstacles during the early 2000s, which had a lot of people questioning why they were sponsors of a bowl game. First, ConAgra was a part of a 4-year investigation where a federal crackdown discovered that the company was grain tampering, or spraying their grain with water to make it seem heavier than it was. 1999 saw a plethora of criminal fines along with having to pay a hefty plea agreement. Secondly, ConAgra faced financial losses from bad investments and commodity speculation. The company's struggles led to its bankruptcy filing, which was converted to a Chapter 7 case in December of 2001. Where bankruptcy court approved a sale order for a majority of the company's assets. Then the company had to pull the second largest recall of ground beef at the time, 19 million pounds in 2002, due to an E. coli bacterial contamination where ConAgra faced financial losses. So in reality, I think this sponsorship was just to try to get back on the public's good side, but they should have been focusing more on their business than sponsoring a college football bowl game. At least they started the Hawaii Bowl, so I guess that was a positive. 2014 had 2 interesting bowl sponsors this bowl season, with the first one having more hype at the time than the other. From the years 2012 to 2017, A&E showed us a reality TV show called Duck Dynasty. Season number 1 started a movement that many I don't think would have predicted from these long-bearded Louisianans. The show gave us family values, outdoor activities, humor and fun, as well as authenticity. Maybe all the beards had some help with the popularity and Uncle Si. I'll admit, I did watch this show back in the day, or the early seasons at least. It was good stuff, okay? Momentum of the show led all the way to the family's company, Duck Commander, to sponsor the Independence Bowl in 2014. Duck Commander actually signed a 6-year naming rights deal for the bowl. Now this game really did involve members of the Robertson family being a part of the bowl game, maybe a bit too much. Just in tailgating, there was an energy drink booth with flavors named after the family members. Sadie Robertson led a pregame prayer, Missy Robertson sang the national anthem, and Uncle Si sort of handled the coin toss. This bowl brought some big name teams as it was SEC affiliated, with that being South Carolina and Miami, but weather was pretty bad. Out of the 38,000 attendees, half of them left by halftime due to the weather. On this gross game day, however, South Carolina took the victory 21-24, where Willie Robertson presented the trophy. A pretty nice trophy if you ask me. Yet, this bowl sponsorship only lasted 1 year as the Independence Bowl moved to being sponsored by Camping World. It was a wild sight to see that just a TV show led to their company being able to sponsor one of the bigger bowl games in college football. The other bowl in 2014 who had less hype than the Robertsons at the time was the Bitcoin St. Petersburg Bowl. That's right folks, the cryptocurrency you all know that exploded during the 2020 pandemic actually was the name of a bowl game back in the day. The actual sponsor was Atlanta-based BitPay, but they decided to name it the Bitcoin Bowl and was set to pay ESPN $500,000 annually for the sponsorship. BitPay did have 2 goals in mind for this game though. Provide 3 hours of nationally televised spotlight on Bitcoin the day after Christmas, and to have attendees be able to buy their tickets and concessions using the cryptocurrency. And I guess as well as having St. Petersburg as the hub for Bitcoin. There was vendors set up all around the stadium with magazines and flyers trying to showcase how and what Bitcoin did. So to most fans, this just felt like a Bitcoin convention rather than a college football bowl game, even questioning if this so-called Bitcoin was just a scam. The only scam that day was having to play in the Rays Stadium. Nevertheless, for the single game that it was the Bitcoin Bowl, North Carolina State defeated UCF with a score of 34-27, where NC State survived a late fourth quarter comeback by the Knights. A reason for only 1 year of the Bitcoin Bowl could have been that it later came out that December 2014 was not a good month for BitPay. A report in September 2015 revealed the company's CFO had fallen prey to a fishy scam that allowed a hacker to impersonate him and make successful multiple requests for a total of 5,000 Bitcoin. It may not have looked so weird if Bitcoin was a sponsor of a bowl today, but back in 2014, it was too weird for its time. Should have had my parents buy some then. 2020 to 2021 saw another trend become a sponsor of a bowl game such as both 2014 bowls. Now for many American gamers, the game of Fortnite is very popular, played, and well known. But during the rise of Fortnite, a game called PUBG Mobile was looked as a rival. PUBG was out before Fortnite where it had some traction in the US until the release of Fortnite, then it took a backseat. But the game was still a big presence in Southeast and South Asia. So to try and garner a wider American audience, I guess PUBG thought sponsoring the New Mexico Bowl was the move. Anyways, their first year as sponsor didn't go as planned with the pandemic. Instead of playing at the University of New Mexico's field like they usually would, the game was moved to Frisco, Texas, where it just seemed like a regular game, no real experience. Game 1 under PUBG was Hawaii vs Houston, where Hawaii won 28-14. Year 2 without the New Mexico restrictions, the bowl was back to normal and PUBG showcased some fan experiences. From a video PUBG put on their YouTube, they had a PUBG mobile themed tent where they had cornhole, a hold the skillet challenge, and obviously the opportunity to play PUBG. Definitely looked more kid-oriented rather than anything else. Frisco State took on UTEP this year with Frisco State taking the victory 31-24. I couldn't find why PUBG didn't keep sponsoring the New Mexico Bowl, but after this 2021 game, they were not the sponsor anymore. I also don't think their plan to expand more in the states worked, as they still aren't big in the gaming community here. The final bowl game on this list is kind of my current favorite one. The Pop-tarts Bowl started out in 2023 and started with a bang. With 31,000 fans making the trip to Camping World Stadium in Orlando, the game was electric from the moment the official Pop-Tarts mascot, Strawberry, emerged from the giant toaster. That's right, the Pop-Tart mascot is kind of what made the bowl electric. Besides the game where it was an electric 28-19 win for Kansas State over NC State, with Kansas State even being able to eat Strawberry for a victory snack. For fans in attendance, Pop-Tart brought inventive flavors to game day snacks and incorporating the beloved pastries into the concessions that can be enjoyed at the bowl. Concession foods included Pop-Tart banana pudding, an end zone celebration Pop-Tart cheesecake, a Pop-Tart ice cream sundae, and even Pop-Tarts popcorn. Even during the game, Pop-Tart was giving 1 million pastries to fans if they had the correct predictions, which gave people even more of a reason to tune in. Also can't forget the iconic trophy Pop-Tarts rolled out where it had a built-in toaster that you could place 2 Pop-Tarts in the top of the trophy. Genius. Year 2 in 2024 may have done 2023 one better. Instead of strawberry being there this year, Pop-Tart had cinnamon roll, hot fudge sundae, and wild berry all three be there as the game's ambassadors. But then, the unthinkable happened. Just a year after strawberry was ate live on TV, strawberry could be seen at the top of the stadium as a resurrected Pop-Tart. As for the game, Iowa State won probably the best game of this video with a 42-41 win over Miami, where sadly at the end of the game this year, they decided to toast my boy Cinnamon Roll and the Cyclones got a snack on him. Now there have been a lot more wild sponsors of bowl games over the history of the sport, but I think these 6 are about as weird as they get in terms of the actual sponsor and the antics the bowl games put up. And who knows, for the right amount of money, you can almost make anything a bowl game now. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and hitting the bell notifications. Thank you.